No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world. From the late great Robin Williams portraying John Keating in the 1989 film Dead Poets Society. That's right, we're back in the classroom for another exciting episode of Everything Zen, where we discuss all things in the Zenescope universe, from Wonderland and Oz to grim fairy tales and so much more. This is Zenescope. I'm your host, Mark Sells, and we're happy to have you back with us here in the month of August for our Man, Goat, and the Bunnyman themed podcast. We're talking about legendary monsters or cryptids, and we'll also be focused on back-to-school activities. The ancient Romans called this time of the year Dies Caniculares, or Dog Days, because of the star Sirius, also known as the Dog Star, is associated with some of the hottest days of summer. Are you feeling the heat? This month, we're also celebrating our VIPs with our annual VIP Virtual Con from August 20th through August 21st. Now, if you're not a VIP yet, there's still time to become one and register for the event. Just hop on over to Zenescope.com right now, and in the main menu, you'll find VIP and information on how to sign up. It's really easy. For just $99, you become a Zenescope VIP customer for life. There are no annual fees, and you get all these terrific benefits year after year. We'll be bringing on Adrienne, our VIP concierge, in a little bit to go into all of those perks in more detail a little later in the program. Our resident monster hunter, Chris Samson, has tracked down some incredible prizes for all of our podcast Word of the Month fans, all focused on Man, Goat, and the Bunnyman. Our fun facts guru Amber Curtis will be sharing some trivia on Friday the 13th, which occurs very soon this month. And we'll be speaking with co-founder Joe Brusha about cryptids and the creation of Man, Goat, and the Bunnyman, Zenescope's newest dynamic duo. Later in the program, I had a chance to catch up with musician, songwriter, and producer Dustin Burnett, best known as the frontman behind Zayde Wolf. Off his latest album, Neon Blood Type, that's Never Fade, from Zayde Wolf. Available on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and wherever you download music. You'll need to stay frosty as we enter Bigfoot country. This monstrous edition of Everything Zen starts right now. There's no doubt you've probably heard the legends. Bigfoot, the Yeti, El Chupacabra, the Jersey Devil, the Loch Ness Monster. Some of the most popular cryptids around. But there are dozens more, ranging from the mugwump to the Beast of Exmoor, to the Ozark Howler. So what exactly is a cryptid? Merriam-Webster defines a cryptid as an animal that has been claimed to exist, but never proven to exist. Contrary to popular belief, cryptids don't have to be supernatural, mythical, or even all that strange, though many popular creatures acquire these characteristics as their legends grow. The word cryptid is actually derived from ancient Greek, specifically the Greek word kryptos, which means the study of hidden animals. And that's what cryptozoology is all about. It's a pseudoscience, not a mainstream science, because it doesn't use the scientific method, and its main goal is to prove the existence of these entities, these cryptids. Cryptozoology itself is not really all that old. It goes back to 1955 and the early works of Bernard Uwelmans, a Belgian zoologist who wrote the landmark book On the Track of Unknown Animals, and followed it up with a series of books such as Abominable Snowmen, Legend Come to Life, and In the Wake of the Sea Serpents. Over the years, many of these tales have proven to be hoaxes. But then again, giant squids were once considered krakens and dismissed until captured on film for the very first time in 2012 off the coast of Japan. The platypus and okapi were considered impossible creatures until the first specimens were discovered in 1799 and 1901, respectively. Those are the moments when legends go from cryptozoology to just plain zoology. Cryptids have continued to fascinate us and have been the subjects for more pop culture film and television series than we could possibly fit into this podcast. Everything from Creature from the Black Lagoon to X-Files, Harry and the Hendersons, The Mothman Prophecies, Loch Ness, Monster Quest, and Animal Planet's Lost Tapes. So it's not surprising that with all this curiosity and interest that Zenescope would delve into the world of cryptids itself. In 2011, Zenescope released The Monster Hunter's Survival Guide, a miniseries written by John Paul Russ and illustrated by Sean McCauley and Anthony Spey. It focused on a legendary monster hunter who is put to the test against Sasquatch, Chupacabra, and Wendigo. A film version was even in the works at one point with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as the lead. Fast forward to 2021, and a concept that has been percolating for a while in the inner circles at Zenescope, the idea of not one, but two unique creatures that protect us from all the evils that hide in plain sight. Deranged mutants, satanic cults, demons, even summer vacationers. They are Man-Goat and the Bunnyman, two cryptid roommates named Phil and Floyd who save the world without the world knowing. They don't care about accolades, they just want to be left alone. On this podcast, we'll explore the mythos behind the year's breakout hit, Man-Goat and the Bunnyman, with co-founder and creator Joe Brusha. Amber Curtis will drop by and share some fun facts about Friday the 13th. Adrienne will be here to provide details on our VIP program, and we'll be speaking with songwriter, producer, and musician Zayde Wolf. But right now, let's find out what Chris has in store for us with the podcast Word of the Month.
Welcome, my fellow cryptids. You just missed Phil, Floyd, and Bowser, the Bigfoot, but the good old Jersey Devil, that's me, is here to save the day. To celebrate the success of Man-Goat and Bunnyman's Smash comic series, the Cryptid Council is launching a podcast Word of the Month contest for the month of August. So, whenever you hear the sound during the podcast, we will reveal a secret code or phrase. Email us at info@zenescope.com with that word or phrase, and one of our creatures of myth will email you a promo code to use on your next purchase on zenescope.com. As a reminder, there is just one submission per person. We will also be doing a raffle drawing for one lucky winner from all of our podcast Word of the Month submissions. Our grand prize is a special prize pack chock full of Man-Goat and Bunnyman goodies, including digital comics of the entire series, a coaster set, a notebook, and a special black and white mini art print. We are also giving away 3 second place prizes from those podcast submissions, an 11x17 art print of Man-Goat and the Bunnyman #1 cover B by the talented and amazing Josh Burns. So, listen carefully and email us at info@zenescope.com for your chance to win. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Chris. The podcast contest runs throughout all of August, so you can send an email to info@zenescope.com any day or time up until midnight on Tuesday, August 31st. The winners will all be contacted the first week in September. Our next guest needs no introduction. He's our esteemed leader, co-founder of Zenescope Entertainment, Joe Brusha. Chris sat down with Joe just a few minutes ago to dig deep into the origin story for Man-Goat and the Bunnyman, the different quirky storytelling elements that make it so unique, and they'll get out the crystal ball to see just what the future holds for everyone's favorite cryptids. Let's listen in on their conversation now.
Welcome, listeners and cryptid fanatics. Today, we have a special guest with us, Joe Brusha, the co-founder and our fearless leader at Zenescope and writer of the smash hit series, Man-Goat and the Bunnyman. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks. Good to have this interview. Very excited about it.
So let's hit the ground running. How did the story concept or pitch for the Man-Goat and the Bunnyman come to be?
So this is an idea that's kind of been gestating for a while. I don't even know how long, maybe 2-3 years. When researching, I'm always looking for new story ideas. So I'll hit up some websites and, strange news sites and things like that. And I've come across, I'm big in cryptids, as probably some people know, with like the Monster Hunter Survivor Guide and things like that. I love Bigfoot. I love all those weird things that are just kind of out there with the cryptid world. So looking through different articles and just stories, I came across, I'm not sure which one first, but I came across the Bunnyman story, which was about this kind of deranged, some of the stories it was a deranged guy in a bunny costume with an axe running around I think it was somewhere in Massachusetts, terrorizing people. Other people said it was a giant bunny. So it kind of turned into this legend and lore of the Bunnyman. It was connected to a bridge, if I remember correctly, and there was this haunted bridge where the Bunnyman would appear. So that kind of got put into my archives for ideas. And then along the same lines, I was looking and I saw a couple different things about the Goat Man. One was down in Texas. People had seen this man-goat kind of creature a couple times and been attacked by it. And so that went into the archives as well, the idea and story archives. And they were just kind of sitting there. And then as I was, over the years thinking about it, I thought it would be pretty cool to kind of have a buddy comedy instead of having them be, bad guys or monsters, that they were kind of misunderstood heroes. So we have our story meetings once or twice a year with me, Dave, and Ralph, and now David will all be in those. And we're always looking for new mini series and ideas. And I brought it up and pitched it to Dave and Ralph, and they really liked it. So we decided to go with it, and we kind of fleshed out the entire first arc story there on our story conference, and then I went ahead and wrote it.
Awesome. And I'm curious. So you mentioned you have an archive. So when creating this story, you pulled out these stories about the Bunnyman and the Goat Man. Were there other type of monster archetypes or cryptids that you were considering in your archives, and what made those two particular monsters made the cut?
Yeah, for this, there wasn't other ones I considered. I don't know why. I decided those two would go together. I mean, I have tons of cryptids. I mean, we've done some things on the Jersey Devil. Obviously, we have some Bigfoot stories. There's tons of cryptids out there, the Mothman, all kinds of things. But now I never really considered anything else. For some reason, these two just went together. I'm sure that we'll do other stories with other cryptids or other monsters, but I'm trying to think of even what I have. I know I have so many different story ideas. I have a whole huge database of them, but these two, for whatever reason, just went together. I felt like Man, Goat, and the Bunnyman just went together right from the start, and there was something there, some kind of dynamic that worked. So now, obviously, Bigfoot is in this story, so he kind of fits in, but not as part of that.
Speaking of Bigfoot, one of the biggest things I love about this series is how strange and humorous and weird it is. And for example, Bigfoot or Bowser, that's his name in this story, he's just this big, lovable butterfly chasing oaf. Bunnyman or Floyd's constant but failing search for love. What quirky story elements happen to be your favorites?
I mean, a lot of those things came up in our story meeting, and I got to give Ralph and Dave credit there because they're a little bit more goofy than me, I feel like, some of those concepts. Especially, I think, the butterfly chasing with Bigfoot. I think that might have been Dave's. But I like them all. Probably my favorite, I like Bunnyman's story arc. I like. There's going to be more revealed about him coming up in some subsequent issues, and he's a very kind of troubled character because he is searching for love and he can't find it. And on the opposite side, you have Man Goat, who gets any girl that he really wants, kind of, and so it causes a lot of tension between them. And Man Goat really doesn't have any sensitive side when it comes to that, and Bunnyman really does. He's trying to find true love. But he can't have it. So I like that aspect. And like I said, I think that there's some stuff that'll come out in upcoming stories that shed a little bit of light on that. But a lot of the quirky stuff, like I said, that comes out of, I think if you have one person sit down and write a story, you miss out on some ideas. And when you have different personalities and different ideas with other writers, it can really add to a story. And I think you see that in this one. I think that when we were all together, obviously you have to dial back. Some ideas were thrown out. Sometimes Dave and Ralph, well, more Dave than Ralph, gets a little bit goes off the wall, and we have to shut him down. But a lot of the ideas are really good, and you have that. That's why they have writers' rooms, right? When you have TV, usually it's 5, 6, 7 people in a room coming up with ideas, and you take the best ideas from everybody. So I think that's where a lot of that quirky kind of goofy stuff comes from, and you take the good stuff and you get rid of the bad, and that's where it came from.
All three have a really great chemistry and synergy, and it makes for a great product. I mean, this is probably one of our best-selling miniseries in recent memory, and like I know, like I was looking in the inventory, like #1 issue is completely sold out, which is insane. So, congratulations, Joe. That's a big deal.
Thanks. Yeah. You never know what's going to hit. It's funny because Dave and Ralph really reacted as well, but we've done other stories that just didn't sell as well or weren't as well received, and for some reason, this one was. So it's interesting. I'm glad it was, but you just never know.
So you mentioned a little bit of this already, but what's next for our heroes? Is there anything you could reveal about Volume 2? How does Mango and Bunnyman fit into the larger Zenescope universe? And, you're a big fan of Bigfoot. Is there a possibility for a Bigfoot spin-off series?
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the next story arc we're going to go into is going to really delve into the history of the characters, where they came from a little bit more, what their backstory is, how they came to meet. Because in this story, we kind of jump into it. They're already together, and there's some hints at how they met and, where they came from. But we didn't reveal very much. So this next story arc will, go into that and go into Bunnyman and where he came from. Planning a short story that's supposed to go in the graphic novel. I'm not sure if we're still going to do that, but there will be some kind of short story, whether it's a digital only webcomic, but that'll be coming out, hopefully before the end of the year. It'll only just be an 8 to 10 page story. But yeah, just delving more into the characters and talking about their history and showing where they came from. And of course, it'll be another cool, quirky adventure that they go on. That should be fun and exciting, hopefully. And hopefully people like it as much as they like the first one. Perfect.
Well, it seems like there's a lot to look forward to, like later this year, next year. And I just want to leave this with one more question. For those who still have not read the story yet, like in your opinion, what's the #1 reason why they should give this miniseries a try?
It's something different. It's something, it's cool. It has the action adventure, has a little bit of horror, a little bit of fantasy, but it's a buddy comedy that you just haven't seen. It's something that's, I think, really unique, cool, and different. And I think Bunnyman and Mango both have, Floyd and Phil both have really cool personalities, and it's a cool world. It's like I said it once or twice, I really like cryptids. I like the idea that there's something out there that we don't know about. So this gives you a little bit of insight into that.
Perfect. And I love cryptids too. And spoilers, there's a bit of the occult and the supernatural involved in the first arc. And, that scratches my itch as well. So there's a lot to love about this miniseries. So thank you so much, Joe, for taking out the time to chat. Thank you for creating these awesome series and these characters. And can't wait to see what comes next. So this is Everything Zen with an exclusive on Mango and Bunnyman with the big boss himself, Joe Brusha. Joe, thank you for all that you do.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Chris and Joe. If you'd like to learn more about Goat and the Bunnyman and cryptids, stop by Zenescope.com. And midway down the homepage, you'll see a section entitled MGBM 101. It's got Goat and the Bunnyman issues and collectibles, plus a few extra items from our Monster Hunter collection. Moving forward now, let's take a look at some of the exciting events coming up on the Zenescope Calendar for August 2021. One of Zenescope's best-selling series of all time, The Watcher, will be available as a graphic novel this month. The series follows a Catholic deacon and his family as they relocate to a suburban New England home that's long rumored to be haunted by an evil entity. The Watcher will also help kickstart our Graphic Novel of the Month subscription, so be on the lookout for both of those. We've also got some really exciting new releases coming up in the same vein as a WWE SmackDown. Grim Universe presents Zodiac vs. Death Force, Bell takes on the Dragon Clan, and Red Agent battles the Beast of Belgium. All of these new releases will be dropping on Wednesdays throughout the month. The new Metal comic, Metal cards, serial cosplay, and sticker set have all been released for August and are available for subscription on Zenescope.com. And the 4th edition of Elias Chadzudis' classic fairy tale collectibles will be released on Fairy Tale Friday, August 27th, featuring Goldilocks. Depending on where you live and where you go, August and September signal a return to the classroom. It's back to school time, and with that, we'll have all kinds of back to school goodies from pencil bags and metal lunch boxes to metal cards and notebooks. Dawn McTagg is our August featured artist of the month, and that means new art prints, stickers, and metal cards, all by Dawn McTagg. And finally, we've got a VIP event this month, and Adrienne is here to tell us all about it.
Hi everyone, Adrienne here, your VIP concierge. I'm so excited for our VIP virtual con this month on August 20th and 21st. We're going to have lots of games, prizes, VIP only collectibles, and so much fun. There's going to be a writer's room where you get to participate with Joe, Ralph, Dave, and David, our editorial team, to create a new comic book story. A drink and draw event with Zenescope artists hosted by Chris and yours truly, comic book theater, Zenescope and Dragons, and so much more. If you're already a VIP, email me at vip@zenescope.com to RSVP. Now, if you're not a VIP yet, what are you waiting for? For just $99, you can become a Zenescope VIP for life. It's just that simple. And you can find our membership packages on zenescope.com under VIP, or email me directly at vip@zenescope.com. As a VIP, you get early access to our hottest collectibles. You get reduced flat rate shipping on your purchases, invites to VIP exclusive events like the one we're hosting this month, and most importantly, you get points for every Zenescope purchase, which adds up to significant dollars off future purchases. Plus, you'll get to know your Zenescope family pretty well. Myself, Chris, Amber, Joe, Ralph, and our entire team. And you get to be a part of an awesome community of like-minded fans who are truly the best in the world. To register for the VIP Virtual Con this month and or learn more about becoming a VIP, email me at vip@zenescope.com. The fun begins with VIP.
Welcome, stranger. This is Chris Samson, monster hunter in training. You may not have heard of me, but who I am doesn't matter. My message does. It seems you have ventured deep into this podcast woods searching for the Goat and Bunnyman. Seems like you've been reading one too many issues of The National Inquisitive. They're harmless, mostly, and they're the good guys. Now, I don't want to discount Phil and Floyd's accomplishments, but man is at the top of the food chain, and for a darn good reason too. We hunt monsters as well, which brings me to my point. If you enjoy the daring escapades of them walking, talking beasties, then I suggest you pick up the Monster Hunter Survival Guide, Case Files, graphic novel. You see, my fellow monster hunters, JP, Russ, and Pitt, are among an international community of hunters that operate in secrecy and silence. Like my old favorite westerns, they live a nomadic lifestyle, lending their expertise and skills to small towns and communities ravaged by the strange and unusual. And this graphic novel provides a glimpse into some of their most harrowing cases. Written by various authors such as Joe Brusha and Justin Peniston, this graphic novel is divided into 3 standalone case files involving Sasquatch, the Chupacabra, and the Wendigo. In classic Zenescope fashion, the writing honors the conventions of these classic monsters and folklore, but provide new, unexpected, and modern twists. For example, what begins with a rash of goat killings in a remote Mexican town soon escalates into a multiple killings of villagers guided by some type of intelligent design. Monster Hunter Pit might be in over their heads, you see. While Monster Hunter Survival Guide Case Files lacks the harebrained comedy and shenanigans and quirkiness of Goat and Bunnyman, what it does offer is brand new spins on classic cryptid lore in a grizzled Monster of the Week storytelling format that is guaranteed to entertain. Well, looks like I'm off to hunting another wee beastie, so back to you, Mark.
Now, for those listening for our podcast word of the month, the word for August is pretty simple. It's cryptid. That's CRYPTID. the term for all those amazing hidden animals out there. Our featured guest this month is one of the most prolific songwriters, producers, and musicians working today. His music has been featured in hundreds of music trailers, video games, sports promos, and ads from ESPN to NBC to MTV and tons more. For instance, his song Cold-Blooded was recently used as the theme song for the Chicago Cubs. Zayde Wolf is the solo project and vision of Dustin Burnett, a Nashville producer and musician who just dropped his third full-length album, Neon Blood Type, this year. The album charted to the tops of iTunes in over 25 countries within hours of release. It features over a dozen adrenaline-charged songs focused on bringing us together, motivating us to move forward, and giving us hope in these challenging times. Recently, I sat down with Dustin to find out the meaning of Zayde Wolf, his process for creating such powerful music, especially as it relates to his latest work, Neon Blood Type, and the background behind his comic/coloring book that he created with Zayde Wolf and his family as superheroes. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. Dustin, welcome to Everything Zen.
How's it going? I'm so glad to be here.
Great to have you here. First thing I want to ask you as we jump right in is, What is Zayde Wolf? Where does the name come from, and what does it represent to you?
Yeah, so it's crazy. The whole story of Zayde Wolf is very crazy. Me being a singer, again, was a complete surprise by accident, actually. I spent a lot of my time in my 20s in bands and producing, and then kind of at the beginning of my maybe 29, 30, I was like, I'm not going to be a singer anymore. I don't want to try to be a band. I want to produce music. I want to write music, but I don't want to be the singer anymore. And so I hung it up for a long time. Moved to Nashville. I worked on a lot of music down here. And then right about 2014, and I'd been in Nashville about 7-8 years, but at that point, 7 years. I started working on some music, and I was going to have a guy. I was working on all these songs. I was going to have another guy be a singer, and I was going to be the producer. And I had this idea for this vision for this sound that I kind of made. I had already sang on the demos of those and those kinds of things, and I had an opportunity to send one of those songs over to my friend Jessica, who does music licensing. Mm-hmm. And so I had a song that I wanted to send to her. And I couldn't get it together with the guy to actually sing and want to be a part of the project, or a couple of the guys that I was wanting to do. So my wife was like, go ahead and finish out the songs. So I finished them. I finished the vocals on them. I sent them over to Jessica. And in order to send them to Jessica, she knew me as a producer. She didn't know me as a singer. So I put the name Zayde Wolf on it so I can actually kind of just hide behind the fact that it wasn't me. I could say, here's another group that I've produced. What do you think about this? And she instantly, she got a music license for the song that I sent her in a couple of days. That was maybe like $25,000 license. It was like a really big chunk of money that just plopped in sort of by accident. And so she was like, well, who's Zayde Wolf, and how do I get more of these songs? It's going really good. And I was like, well, it's me. And the rest is, the last 5 years of history of, being a part of some amazing pieces of fandom, video games and comic book characters and movie trailers and stuff like that. It's been really special to be a part of.
And the name itself, I think I read that it was like names for your third-born child that you just kind of cobbled together and said, here you go, here's a new band.
Yeah, that is so true. My wife and I were, years ago, we were going to have our third child, and we already had a boy and a girl, so we decided we wouldn't look at the ultrasound to see if it was going to be a boy or a girl. And so we had to pick out boy and girl names, and Zayde Wolf was on the top of my list for boy names. My wife was like, hell no, we're not doing that. And so it kind of just hung around. And so when I had that song to pitch over, I was like, I had to put a name on this. I was like, okay, I'll put that name on there for now. I always liked that name. And so because of that choice, yeah, I've lived with that for the last 5-6 years.
So basically you won, and your wife is now having to be reminded daily of your name choice.
I guess I never thought about it like that, but I guess in some ways, yeah, the name never got to leave us. We ended up having a girl, so we didn't even argue about a boy's name. So we just we both agreed on the name for our daughter, and so that name just kind of got chucked in a trash can until like maybe another year and a half later. So
Nice.
yeah.
You come from you come from a small town in Illinois, I believe. How did your career in music begin? Was it in your family? Did you have did you go to a special school? Were you self-taught like that cool kid in high school with the guitar?
Well, a couple of interesting things about where I grew up. One of them is I grew up in the town is called Metropolis.
Oh, we don't know what that is. Superman.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so we have a big Superman statue in town and a Superman museum and memorabilia all over. They do a Superman festival every summer where they have different, comic book characters and movie characters come through and actors and things. And so, yeah, we kind of grew up around that and always thought that I never really thought how cool it actually kind of was until I was a little older and looked back and I was like, actually, this was a really interesting part of my story to sort of be from this, this space,
humble, heroic beginnings, right?
kind of is, I guess, in some ways. Yeah, but I grew up out in the country on some acres that belonged to my family and my grandfather. And my parents just always loved music and rock and roll. They always had some kind of vinyl record on. And my mom bought a piano one time because I would sing constantly. And she's like, maybe this kid's really musical. His grandmother was musical. His grandfather was musical. My parents didn't play any instruments. And so they got a piano, and my mom says that I instantly sat down and started making music on it as like a 6-year-old kid to some degree. I mean, I always think that moms are like, they just sometimes see us as golden, always. But now with my kids, I see them sitting down and doing things on the piano that I'm like, oh, wow, geez, okay. So maybe that did actually exist. I didn't believe her until I became a parent myself. But yeah, I took guitar lessons for maybe like 6 months or so from a local guitar teacher once a week. And then I just really kind of got into wanting to make music. And so I always heard songs. I loved songs. And so an instrument was really all it was a way for me to create a song. I didn't really care if I was really good at playing it or any of those things. I wanted to be able to just make music through whatever I was holding. So yeah, I think that was the reason why I was super interested in trying to learn how to play instruments and because I just wanted to get songs out that I would hear in my head. So, yeah.
And it's always I always thought it was a cool thing too to when you're learning an instrument and learning how to play it, and then you're like connecting it to like songs that you listen to. Because like I remember like learning how to play guitar, and one of the first songs that I was learning how to play was Dust in the Wind,
Yeah.
And it was just this like magical experience when you're able to sort of break down the song to something that you grew up listening to and loving, and then you're able to play it. It's magic.
Yeah, because some people like to play because they love the technical aspect of that. But I think for the most part, people who love music and love songs, they want to connect an instrument or a voice to one of those atmospheres, one of those planets, a song planet, basically. And people love to be attached to that thing, kind of moving through space and different moments throughout history. It's very special to think about you playing that song and me also playing that song. And however many other people playing that song who have sang that song. They're almost songs are just like little planets floating through. It's really special. Yeah.
It's cool. in preparing this interview, I was focused mostly on your new album, but in going through your song catalog and hearing tracks like Cold Blooded and Home and No Mercy, I was reminded how many songs I've heard from you from so many different sources. Hundreds of songs from film trailers like Jack Reacher and Love Simon, video games, sports ads.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite campaigns your music has been connected to?
Well, I think I have a few of those. One of them, I remember being able to go to, I was in LA. It was one of my first trips to LA as Zayde Wolf. I did a little showcase for a movie trailer house. And they were like, hey, come inside. I want to sign this NDA and want to show you something. And they showed me one of those aforementioned trailers that you mentioned there. And that was a mind-blowing moment to be like, oh, wow, this is like happening. Like, this is like a legit movie. This is going to be the song. So that was a big moment for me, because that was like the one that I realized, I think I've actually put something together that might work. And I think I can get, we can put a lot of time in this and it really be worth it. The second one, one of the other ones was the Chicago Cubs. I grew up in Illinois. Chicago Cubs used one of my songs for like their intro music, their walkout music, and that ended up ultimately leading to them having me come out and throw the first pitch out at a ball game. Gave me my own jersey, all because of a song. You know what I mean?
Dreams come true.
It's so special. I love sports. I love sports, and so to see my songs attached on so many cool things, like the March Madness thing this past year, they used one of my songs as like a key component to that, and I love that. I think it's so fulfilling. Just I think because I'm a sports head a little bit.
Yeah. One of your YouTube commenters out there asked, does this guy ever make a bad song? And I have to agree. Your music, and this album they're really great for any activity that you're doing, great for working out, finding that extra bit of energy. Who are your main music influences, and what music is currently in your playlist?
Right now, I'm listening to very little current music because I don't want to be drawn to anything current. There's a couple of years ago, I stopped. It's not that I don't listen to it, but I'm probably not listening to any bands right now unless they just don't sound like anything that I'm doing. There's some things I'm just peeling off, but the most thing that I'm listening to now, I'm listening to yacht rock playlists, that soft 70s, early 80s bands that I just think they're just beautiful right now. Toto, everybody from Toto and, Michael Jackson songs and, of course, Tom Petty is my all-time favorite writer. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's just
good company there.
Yeah, I'm just listening to all kinds of, a lot of it's older music right now. I think it's not that I don't like new music. There are some stuff that I absolutely love, but I think I just focus on trying to create a feeling from older music sometimes,
Let's talk about Neon Blood Type. Some of the songs were released previously. There are 13 tracks in total. And in today's world of digital music, where consumers are downloading singles instead of full albums, I was wondering, do concept albums themes matter today for artists? And related to that, how did you go about song selection and sequencing on this album?
Yeah, I think that if you want to make a concept album or release an album, you should not be deterring yourself from creating a piece of art that's collective just because maybe the Spotify algorithm is pointing people to single songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make the art because you want to make the art. Put the songs together because you want to put them together. I had released, several of the songs kind of individually before, and some of that we were playing into, trying to get Spotify on board and Apple on board to help us as releasing. And other was just kind of building into to the whole picture, to the whole album. A big part to the song selection this time was the fact that we actually printed a vinyl of
Whoa,
the
that's
album.
cool.
Yeah, so because of the allotted amount of time restrictions and the fact that you have to turn the sucker over halfway through, that really kind of made me change my mind on the song order a few times. I had some extra help with that too, through some playlists and some friends, and we tried some different things out what would work. But we wanted to make sure, like initially when I put it together, I think the second side started with like a more chilled out song. Once we realized how much time we were going to have on each side, and I was like, we can't do that. Like the second side of the album needs to hit hard when it drops.
Somebody flips it over and it's like,
yeah, we don't want a sleeper when they flip it. So we definitely thought about that. And probably the least amount of people are going to listen to this thing as they are, on Spotify. But I still want to have a lot of fun with that and putting that together. So yeah, I think we definitely kind of had a feeling with that, but it was a big part of it too. And I also knew that since I wrote the song The Reason, which was like well over a year ago now, I knew that was the one that I wanted to put at the top. That's what I wanted to open the album with.
This is the reason we rise, no turning back, no turning back. Where do we go from here? Look in my eyes.
You hit the ground running with The Reason. Track 1, it's one of my favorite tracks. Songwriters are always drawing from personal experience. Was there a specific moment or event that inspired this song?
Yeah, I think, living through 2020 and seeing, especially the end of 2019 through 2020, seeing all the different political things that were happening, social things that were happening, as well as living through that first part of COVID-19 that we're dealing with. Like, I think all of those were sort of a pressure point for that song specifically. And just kind of wanting to tell a story while it felt like the whole world was trying to pull people sort of away from each other, that I wanted to make a song more about like togetherness and sort of rising together for something good. So yeah, that was kind of how that song was, basically kind of the anti-2020 message.
Yes.
In some ways. Yeah, that's a big one for that. Yeah.
Yeah, we can all rally around that. On a macro level, where does your creativity and inspiration for music come from? What do you draw upon most? And is there, an inner sort of spirituality to your music?
Well, I think just as far as like trying to get songs going, a lot of what I do is, I keep a lot of voice memos for ideas on my cell phone. So on my iPhone, anytime I have like any type of idea, even if I'm driving in the car or whatever, and they usually come at random points like that, I'll sing those in. And then sometimes I'll just pick a day when I'm like, well, I feel like I want to try to write a song today. I'll just start going back through and listening to those. And every once in a while I'll be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe we should try that. And then I'll sometimes play on piano or try to make a drum beat for it or something like that to kind of get the song rolling. And then kind of revisit it again. It was like, was that any good? So sometimes there's things like that. And then the song Holy Water that's on the album, that one was written after we actually closed out the vinyl. Like, I had it all mastered. We were going to send it off, and my PR team reached out to me, Nicole, and she said that we could do an extended version of the album on Apple Music. They want to do like a special with that. Would you have any extra songs? I'm like, I just spent 2 years writing this album. I'm finished. And she's like, just see if you got any demos. Maybe it's just demos, something you can kind of finish up. Like, don't take it as hard on yourself as the other songs. Then I couple of days later, like I'm playing around with some songs. I hated all of those. And then one evening, like I think I had a little bit of whiskey, and I sat down at the piano and basically wrote Holy Water top to bottom, sort of about, in some ways, kind of about whiskey or indulgences or whatever it might be. You know, it's kind of a song a bit about that type of thing. So yeah, that one basically flew out in probably in less than 24 hours. Like I had the first draft of the song basically mixed and finished in 24 hours on that one.
If I'm paying for these sins, I'm gonna need that holy water. Holy water. I'm gonna need that holy water. Yeah. Holy water. I'm gonna need that holy water.
It's interesting because it's almost, in a way, it's almost like the album is leading up to Holy Water.
Yeah, and then
So it's surprising that it was like a last edition.
Yeah, it's wild, very, very wild. But I'm so glad that I wrote it. I feel like I needed to write that song, and I think that because we had the album closed, and I felt like I had a lot of the other markers and types of songs that I wanted to write, and I had those finished. I think once I actually took the barriers away, that's the whole reason that song like emerged itself, and I was able to kind of like, you know, grab a hold of it for that moment. I think if I was still trying to write in a box thinking I need to write this type of song, or I want to do this type of thing, once I kind of put that away, it was like this was the song. It just came out. I wasn't holding it back myself anyway at that point.
I'm going to put you on the spot on this one because
right,
every time I listen to this album, I have a new favorite song, right? One minute it's Never Fade. The next I'll be listening to It's a Vibe. I'm like, that's the song, you know? And I know it's kind of like picking between your kids, but do you have a favorite song or songs, and why?
You know, for this album, I think I definitely have some favorites. I think Holy Water is definitely a favorite song of mine because of just that sort of lightning in the bottle, and it just really felt so tangible at that time, and I felt like I needed to write that type of song. But I'm sort of looking at the track list right now off screen here. There's so many of them that are really fun to me, and I'm so glad that, you know, that I wrote them. You know, like I think Never Fade and also Still Fighting For It, they kind of fit in a little area together, like it's like types of songs, and those are real important to me because of kind of message that I'm trying to get across about staying together and keep fighting for things. And then there's other songs like Let's Go or Rumble, which are kind of like in a category together where they're just hype. Like you can put those on and just like feel good, drive down the road, you know. Then there's the like Feel Good and you know, Back at It are like kind of just like they're just real peppy songs. So yeah, I think I'm happy of like all of these songs are on the album, and I feel really good about this one because of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love this too. In addition to Neon Blood Type, especially being from a comic book publisher, you created a comic book / coloring book featuring you and your family as superheroes. And there it is. Yeah. This is probably fitting considering you were born in Metropolis. So where did this idea come from, and where can our listeners find it?
Sure. The fun part about it was, you know, as we were kind of working on, I have a good friend of mine that I grew up with. His name's Gabe Watkins, and he does he does all the cover artwork for me for all of the singles. He helps me come up with ideas for merchandise and things like that. And so we were working on a bunch of merchandise ideas that go along with the new album. And I kind of hit him up and I was like, dude, we need to do something like really different. We need to do like a weird calendar or something. I was like, or like a coloring book. And he's like, or a puzzle or a color. We're thinking all these weird things to do, right? And he's like, coloring book. Like I got an idea how we can do that. He's been doing some design stuff for Crayola, and they have all these artists that they work with.
Mm.
And so he reached out to this guy named Ron Jensen, and I was like, "Hey Ron, we have this idea. We want to do like a coloring book that feels like a 1980s He-Man book, coloring book."
I was going to say the titling looks like Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, I was like, we want to do something that like would remind adults about coloring books that they that they grew up with, but would also like kids who have a really young listener group and their parents. But the kids will think it's just like badass too, right? And so we just started coming up with these ideas. We want to kind of do a page for each song, and some things that I wanted to kind of include into that, where like, feelings, making it feel like a vintage coloring book, but also to include some images of my family kind of as heroes in it, and Zayde Wolf fighting off giant snakes and meteorites and stuff like that. We just wanted to be like, let's just imagine our own universe right now and kind of create something. So yeah, it's fun. So since they can't see the picture, the coloring book is basically each page is a Zayde Wolf as if he were imagined as kind of like a superhero comic book character, and he's fighting robot skeletons in one page and a giant snake in another one, and running through a cavern, holding my wife's hand, and we've got a little torch and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's really fun. I'm so glad that we did it. I probably will never make back the money that it actually cost to actually make this thing, but I'm so glad that we did it. It's going to be really fun to give out to people and let people buy and all that stuff.
How important is family in your music, and what impact did becoming a father have on your music?
Oh, wow. I've been a dad a long time now. My oldest just turned 17. And so, yeah, it's had various impacts throughout. I think at first it was more like sort of like a life change. But now that we have, three, and kind of the place where we are right now, like I do all of this for like the family and the outer family. Like that's the whole reason for keep pushing in and wanting to create something like this, and wanted to make it family friendly, but also feel just badass too, and not family friendly but not cheesy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to kind of create that sort of universe that makes everyone feel like they have a part in that, so probably just like most of any writer or of a series or a comic book or a movie franchise wants to do. They want to be able to enjoy that with family and have a scare, have an excitement, and talk about it, and then build the next level of it. So yeah, I kind of look at it like that a little bit.
Mm.
It's my own little franchise.
Hey, that's what it's all about these days. It's about your brand and franchise. Yeah. We've all been battling through this awful pandemic, sequestered at home, looking for a light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. How has your music inspired listeners during these challenging times? Do you have a memorable letter or note from a fan that you would like to share?
I don't have any of that right in front of me, but there's a few of them that I remember just because of, how special they are. I had several families message me videos from, Christmas morning and holiday gift openings this year of, 8, 9, 10-year-old boys and girls getting their Zayde Wolf t-shirts and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's really special. Like I had a woman who emailed me, and she was saying how the Zayde Wolf songs were helping her autistic daughter really concentrate through some things. They were kind of giving her her little inspirational little nuggets to kind of help her work through some serious challenges she was having, and ultimately kind of led her to take up some boxing training as a young teenager, and
Wow.
that helped her a lot because it gave her an outlet for some things and stuff. So there's been a lot of really cool stories like that yeah, it's just so special, man.
So rewarding. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to share those with other people, and yeah, just kind of be a part of that. You know, I feel like I'm orbiting the planet of those songs too, you know what I mean? Like with everybody else. I don't feel like I'm the middle of that, you know?
We are going interstellar with Zayde
Yeah,
Wolf
that's right.
on today's broadcast.
I love that movie.
Yes. Last question for you. With the release of the new album, will you be on tour? What's up next for you?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was first getting into beginning of 2020 and I was thinking about finishing, you know, I was going to kind of get myself into a pace of making finishing the album. I thought for sure that I would probably, with the release, do, you know, a handful of shows, at least like some release parties and things like that. And I just have not even dug it back out with kind of everything that's sort of still flying around, and how do you plan for it? And then I started looking at venues, and the venue owners, they really only want the biggest things they can get through there right now, and they're getting a lot of it because no one toured for a year, so they can kind of get whoever they want through there. So I just kind of put it on the back burner for right now, but it'd be fun, I think, to do a handful of kind of release party shows or something.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. We love your music and certainly looking forward to more great things from you.
Yeah, thanks for
Awesome.
having me on, man. That was
Absolutely.
really awesome to talk to you, and I appreciate all your questions and all your knowledge, and I love it.
If you'd like to learn more about Zayde Wolf, the official webpage is zaydewolf.com. That's ZAYDEWOLF.com. You'll find all kinds of music videos. You can sample all of the tracks on Neon Blood Type, check out the merchandise store for the Zayde Wolf comic book, and even pre-order Neon Blood Type on vinyl. How cool is that? And of course, you can access Zayde Wolf's music on all major music sources, from iTunes to Spotify. Before we wrap this edition of Everything Zen, let's check in with Amber for some Friday the 13th fun facts for August.
Hiya friends, Fun Facts Guru Amber here. I wasn't sure if you realized, but August has just about the most important holiday of the entire year, aka Friday the 13th. So today I'll be highlighting everyone's favorite mother and the flagship character for the slasher series, Pamela Voorhees. With the success of the Halloween series and the holiday slasher films, Friday the 13th was created for a quick buck. To capitalize on the market, director Sean S. Cunningham was only given 6 weeks production for the film. He teamed up with Victor Miller, who created the storyline and wanted Mrs. Voorhees as the killer. Since the OG's release, he has never seen another Friday the 13th film because only Mrs. Voorhees was meant to be the only killer in this series. The film was a massive success, getting almost $60 million in the box office off a $550K budget. Mrs. Voorhees was a teen mom in Ohio and had a very short marriage to Jason's father, Elias. She was an overprotective mother and didn't let Jason attend school. While working as a cook at the camp, Jason accidentally drowned, thus leading her to see hallucinations telling her to kill those who she deemed were responsible. She's considered one of the greatest female slashers of all time, kicking off a franchise of 12 films, video games, a few books, countless merch, and collectibles, and being one of the highest profiting horror franchises around. The Friday the 13th filming location is still a Boy Scout camp in New Jersey and offers tours around the holiday. As a Jason fan myself, it is one of the most surreal experiences to go as a fan. To avenge his mother, Sackhead Jason made his first appearance in Part 2, and then later donning his iconic hockey mask in Part 3. Can you name a better mother-son duo? I think not.
And that'll do it for this edition of Everything Zen. A special thanks to Chris, Adrienne, Amber, co-founder Joe Brusha, as well as our featured guest, Zayde Wolf. I'm your host, Mark Sells. Thank you for listening. And for everyone going back to school, just remember, as Dr. Seuss once wrote, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. We'll see you all again next month, right here on Everything Zen.